So I was thinking about the many times that Bible passages have made quite an impact on me. Obviously, I have looked back and thought about the times that I've had special events in my life when someone's said something or prayed something over me. I was trying to work it out what to say, and I've debated about 3 verses, but finally decided that the only way to work is if I talk about 2 of them. So bizarrely, to me at least, both are Old Testament. Because to be honest, I do have a preference on speaking about Jesus and using his words and his life. But I will satisfy myself with the Old Testament this time, which he would have actually known and read and lived. So, and when you see me, do ask me what the 3rd verse was, because you'll probably laugh, because considering what I've just said about Jesus being the straight through, then you'll understand. So I was christened at about 6 months, I think. At 12 years old, I was confirmed into the Anglican Church and then stopped going to church, really. At about 16, I started going to a youth group called Cypher, and later that year, I became a Christian. Now, for an Anglican, I'd already ticked all the boxes. I'd been christened, I'd been confirmed. But then I went to university and got involved in the Christian Union and became the outreach secretary for them. I don't know if anyone's surprised by that. And then came the long summer holiday of university. And partly because I was the outreach sec, I felt I ought to go on a mission. So I went with a group of students from Wales to Nerja in Spain. We spoke to people, we did drama on the streets, we sang, we preached, using the ladder letters that many of you will have seen Derek use. And we had teaching sessions each day. It was obviously quite full on. The teaching was about Moses and how he set up altars to mark occasions as we were coming, and so exciting. And as we were coming to the end, though, we were asked if any of us had thought about being baptised. Now, the option was being baptised in the Mediterranean Sea, tidal. You have to make sure you don't get pre-baptised. And I decided it'd be a good idea for 2 reasons. Firstly, this time had been incredibly significant for me. And this was my chance to say that Christ was the centre. And also, I wasn't going to be baptised into any particular church. It was a statement of me. It was a statement of my desire to be baptised. Now, the verse spoken over me after I'd managed to not be pre-baptised by all the waves was from Joshua 1 verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Let me repeat that. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Wow. We have to be strong and brave, strong and courageous, because God has commanded us to be. We are not either of those things because of who we are or what we are doing. We are promised that God will be with us everywhere. So in that time that you feel that everything is going wrong, hold on to the promise that God has put you on the course and he is there. In the same way, that time when you feel that you are on top of the world, remember that you are only there because God has commanded you. Now, some of you are listening will be remembering promises that have been said over you, I hope, over your lives. Think about them now. Bring back the promises you made to Christ over the years, the promises that have been spoken over you. And for a moment, just pause. You see, I think this verse covers a lot of those promises because it's saying the promise that was spoken over you, he's already commanded it. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And add that promise to all the promises that you've had spoken over you in your lives. What is there that you have been debating doing, getting involved with because you're a bit nervous? Then remember this verse. I could probably go into the minutiae of the verse, but I am not going to. My family, I must admit, often think I veer towards the intimidating and scary rather than the strong and courageous. But there we go. I know that the Lord is with me wherever I go. So that's good. So do remember that. And I think we have things prayed over us and shared that we need to stop and think about. My friend Chris, a long time ago, prayed this over me as we moved from one role in church to another. I realised I couldn't actually explain how the church was run because we would have spent the rest of the time that I could speak explaining how the church that we went to worked. But the verse is, enlarge the place of your tent, stretch your tent curtains wide, do not hold back, lengthen the cords, strengthen your stakes. That's Isaiah 54 verse 2. Now, I've not slept in a tent for a while, although I know Ariana will have got one on their wedding list, apart from some glamping in Tanzania. It was probably while interraining that I last actually slept in anger, so to speak, in a tent. That was quite a long time ago. However, I do remember about how to put them up and how important it was to put them up right and to have them stretched and have the guy ropes on properly. Because the tents we used to use at camps that I went to when I was younger weren't particularly waterproof. There were those old army style ones where if it rained and you touched them, you were drenched in seconds, and everything came through, and they weren't particularly stable. So basically, there was a lot of noise if somebody went near the guy ropes, and people did bring the tents down. So either screaming before, saying please don't go near the guy ropes, or screaming after as the tent collapsed in. But in these verses, I imagine a different scenario. I imagine bigger tents, ones which people could live in properly, semi-permanent structures almost. I imagine the more Bedouin type tents, where rain is not the issue to the same extent. Rain in the desert? The tent was for a household and would need to be made bigger to accommodate more people. As it gets bigger, you need to make sure the infrastructure is good. Otherwise, it'll fall down. So for me, I've always seen this verse as a call for me to keep stretching out with Jesus, to keep trying to claim the area around for Christ while still looking after myself spiritually. I might need to be a refuge for somebody, a person who people can sit with and where people can heal. Might need to be a place where you must always be moving, and that place needs to be somewhere you can always be moving forward in your life as a Christian. These words were prayed over me when I was married, but that was it. There were just the two of us. Over the years, we have accommodated people, be it for a night or longer. We've had people who we have hosted a lot. We have expanded our family, something that actually keeps happening as we continue to welcome our children's partners. As I'm reading this, to be honest, I'm actually midway through packing to go to Edinburgh to sort out my my daughter's wedding. I don't think that is all it means, though. As lockdown has ended and we come through probably one of the hardest times in our lives for things changing, we have an option to stay the same or to begin to expand that tent, bearing in mind that God gives us dreams. What are our dreams for our families, for Westlake in this area? Are we content to stay the same? I'm not. I know that for sure. When I started at Westlake, I had a picture of offshoot congregations, communities all down the lake, the side of the lake, that we needed to enlarge the place of our tent. We aren't there yet. WLAM was a start, but we're in such an area of need here. Switzerland is a spiritual desert, and I think that putting up tents in the desert sounds good. What do you think?